What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the Am I Gardener channel. Well, summer's finally set in. It is, it's getting hot out. It's probably about 80, 85 degrees right now. And we have had some rain in the forecast. We have some more rain coming tomorrow in the next couple days, which is nice. So we have not had to water all that much, but I know that just because we have not had to water that much does not mean you have not had to water that much. I know sometimes when it's completely torrential downpouring in one area, it's bone dry in other areas. And so the one thing that I wanted to do was get this video out about the best time to water your garden and why. This question comes up every single year, and I know that I've touched on this numerous times, but I've never done a video exclusively talking about that. And so I want to get that video out for all of you that were wondering. So when it comes to watering, a lot of people say, just don't water during the heat of the day. And that is correct. You don't want to water when it is the hottest part of the day, like right now. That's why I'm not watering, is because, well, number one, my beds don't really need it. But also, even if they did need it, I would not water during the heat of the day. And that's because the soil heats up. And when the soil heats up, soil, when it's dry, it just absorbs that heat like a sponge. It'll get super hot. It'll radiate that heat. And then what you can do is you can actually steam and boil the roots, believe it or not. When the soil gets 100, 110 degrees and you basically pour water on it, that water is it's a wonderful conductor of heat. And so what it'll do is it'll actually conduct that heat, it'll absorb that heat, and then it can actually end up baking and boiling the roots as it moves down. Anything over 105 degrees can actually cause tissue damage to plant roots. So you're gonna kill the plant roots, you're gonna basically stunt the plant, you're really gonna stress it out, and that's not a good thing. Also, water on the surface of the leaves can cause sunburn. This is something that a lot of people write in about. Luke, what are these silvery, shiny patches on my leaves? And that's sunburn. That's caused from water droplets sitting on the leaves. The sun basically magnifies the water magnifies the sun, I should say, and the sun basically just burns that plant tissue because it's like a magnifying glass. When you were a kid, you could like burn little things, start little fires with a magnifying glass, and hopefully not burning any ants. I may or may not have done that as a kid. But you could burn things with a magnifying glass, and the exact same thing applies to water sitting on your leaves. So if you can't water during the heat of the day, a lot of people ask if you can water at night. And the answer is no, you don't want to water at night. And why is that? That's because water sitting on the plants can actually also be a bad thing because it attracts things like fungus and mildew and disease. When you have water sitting on things like your squash plants, you're going to encounter powdery mildew. Now, powdery mildew are those patches of white mold that actually grow on the surface of the leaf. And it usually comes later in the season, but you can actually bring it on earlier when it's hot and humid, because if you water at night when the nights are cool, that water just does not have a chance to evaporate, and powdery mildew loves humid conditions. Hot, humid conditions is where it thrives, and then basically when it sits on the leaves, that's where it colonizes at night when the plants can't dry out. So things like tomatoes, you're gonna get blights. Blights are spread when water sits on the leaves, creates a mold. Blight is a mold spore found in the soil. Basically any soil that's been splashed up on the leaves or is drifting around in the air sits on that water. It loves that dampness, it colonizes, and that's where you get blight. Early blight and late blight can be caused from water sitting on the leaves too long. And then finally, things like lettuce and cabbages, a lot of your leafy greens, they will actually get gray mold. Now, gray mold is basically where it sits on the leaf, and the gray mold is actually breaking down that plant material. It's actually rotting it out. And so you can actually lose a lot of cabbages and lettuce, especially the heading varieties where the water just basically sits in there and nestles in there, can't go anywhere. You can also lose things like peppers. The peppers sometimes will cup the water right where the stem is, and they'll actually just rot that out and drop off the plant. So you can lose a lot of plants due to mold and rot by watering at night. So you do not want to do that. And then finally, the last thing that watering at night can do is it can attract things like slugs. Slugs love damp conditions, and they also like cool and dark conditions as well. So damp, cool, and dark basically means summertime nights here in Michigan. And if you water during the nighttime, that is a recipe for bringing slugs out, which can wreak havoc on your garden. So you can't water during the heat of the day, and you can't water at night. So by default, what does that mean? The best time to water is in the morning. So why is it that watering during the morning is the best time to water? Well, it's because for a few reasons. The water can actually penetrate the soil, and when the water can penetrate the soil, it actually will deeply water the root system. You see, during the heat of the day, water basically evaporates much quicker because the soil's hotter, there's a lot more wind, and the sun is out. Those are all things that cause evaporation. And so what I like to say is that if you water during the morning, anytime from about 5:30 in the morning to probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, those are the best times to water. It's going to give your plants the best chance to give your plants the best chance to access that water before it evaporates. And also, it's going to give the plants enough time to dry because the sun will come out. It just won't be very strong. You are going to get a little breeze. It's going to help to dry off the leaves. And so that's really going to cut down on the disease. And then finally, when you water during the day, there's a lot less pest pressure as well. And that's going to just reduce the amount of things like slugs that can come on and affect your plants. So these zucchinis are beautiful. I like to harvest them when they're young like that because Lord knows we get enough of them. And the final reason why watering during the morning is the best time just has to do with the biology of how plants work. So all plants have leaves, and all leaves have a thing called a stomata. Now a stomata is basically the mouth and the lungs of the plant. You and I have a mouth and we have lungs and we breathe. Plants breathe as well, believe it or not. And they breathe through a process called respiration. Now, what they do is they bring in carbon dioxide, they use the sunlight, and they use the carbon dioxide plus sunlight to create energy through photosynthesis. But the byproduct of that is done at night. And at night, what they do is they breathe out, and they breathe out oxygen and water. They do that because at night, the plants have just grown to know that when they respire out oxygen and water, they do that at night so they don't dehydrate. It's the best time to do it because it causes the least amount of stress on the plant. If you water during the morning, the stomata is just beginning to close, meaning that all of that water that you give the plant has the best chance of getting into the root system, into the plant, and really helping it to get through the day. So that's why watering during the morning is the best time. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And if you did enjoy, make sure to throw a like up there. Subscribe if you're not yet already. And as always, this is Luke from the MI Gardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. And we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.